If you're seeing fewer Chevys and GMCs on the road, that's not a coincidence. General Motors SUVs and crossovers aren't even close to best in class. Long gone are their sedans. And when a company can't even justify keeping Camaro, its muscle car icon, alive, you know it's circling the drain. Meanwhile, in the pickup truck world, Ford is dominating this segment GM used to own. Interior quality and powertrain options is now Ram's game. Even Toyota is showing some nice touches with the Tundra, edging out Silverados and Sierras. So, what happened? What's dragging this Detroit Titan down? Longtime fans aren't shy about pointing fingers. They blame one name, Mary Barra, company's CEO since 2014, the first woman to lead a major automaker. Let's get into facts, flops, and frustration, the key decisions that turned General Motors from a serious player into an industry afterthought. Huge investment in electrification. When Mary Barra took the wheel at GM in 2014, one of her big talking points was going all in on electrification. The auto world was shifting, and the company wanted to lead the charge. General Motors funneled billions into EV platforms, new battery tech, and Ultium, their supposed game-changer architecture. They promised dozens of new electric models. They hyped up factories retooled for a zero-emissions future. It was the kind of spending spree that made headlines. But the market just wasn't ready. Still isn't. EV sales in the US are growing, sure, but they're nowhere near where GM seemed to think they'd be. Most buyers still want gas or maybe hybrids. And the competition, light years ahead. Tesla carved out the top spot and never looked back. GM can't even sniff their numbers, tech, or charging infrastructure. The Silverado EV, delayed. The Lyriq, cool on paper, clunky in execution. Meanwhile, Rivian, a startup, managed to build a compelling truck and SUV before General Motors could get its act together. So they threw billions at EVs in a market that wasn't ready, hoping to leapfrog the field. And instead, landed flat-footed. Now they've got half-baked EVs, a battery supply chain that's still trying to catch up, and dealers begging for hybrids or anything that will actually sell. It's one thing to place a bet on the future. It's another to bet the whole garage on a hand you don't even have yet. Too many connections with China. One of the biggest blunders under Mary Barra's leadership was GM's shift toward importing cheaper parts from China. The goal was cost-cutting, but it led to failures, malfunctions, and serious reliability headaches. Dealerships started seeing downtime because critical components couldn't hold up. And parts being on back order for weeks didn't help soothe customer frustration. Users were pointing out that genuine GM-branded parts are often made in China, and that quality control is wildly inconsistent. This isn't just about parts and downtime. Company's broader relationship with SAIC Motor, the Chinese mega manufacturer, is under scrutiny. GM and SAIC have shared ventures since the late 90s, but by now SAIC is the dominant force. Analysts estimate the Chinese corporation owns about 50% of the joint venture. As the influence of General Motors and Mary Barra dwindles, industry chatter suggests GM is behaving more like an agent in the US, selling China-engineered models under Chevrolet, Buick, and Cadillac badges. Reliability concerns. It's not just the cheap Chinese parts or questionable build quality dragging GM down. What's really worrying longtime fans is the slow collapse of something the automaker used to dominate: engine reliability. Remember when a Silverado or Sierra was a guaranteed 100,000-mile warrior? Plenty of them went double that without breaking a sweat. Those days are slipping fast. Now buyers are hitting service shops way too early, dealing with engine issues that would have been unthinkable 10 or 15 years ago. One of the biggest missteps is the infamous cylinder deactivation system. On paper, it was supposed to be the hero GM needed, a smart tech that shuts off cylinders when full power isn't needed, saving fuel and keeping those big V8s viable in an era of downsizing and turbocharging. In reality, it's been a mechanical nightmare. Owners complain about lifter failures, rough idling power loss, and expensive repairs. And this isn't on some experimental setup. This is on trucks, vehicles people rely on to work every day. Barra's team pushed hard on this tech, thinking it'd preserve the V8 legacy. Instead, it's become a black eye for GM's truck reputation. The Silverado, once a default choice for anyone who needed dependable muscle, is now getting passed over by buyers who don't want to gamble with reliability. Ram, Ford, Toyota, they're the ones moving forward, while General Motors is stuck patching up problems it created. Reliability used to be GM's anchor. Under Mary Barra, it's become another thing they're struggling to hold on to. To be fair, GM is pouring money into new factories and V8 powertrains built from scratch. Fresh units are arriving soon to fix what went wrong, but trust isn't built overnight. Even if these new engines turn out to be rock solid, it'll take years to convince buyers that the old toughness is back. Way out. Trump's impact. Let's forget about the general politics and stick to what really matters here: how a second Trump presidency is reshaping the auto industry, especially for General Motors. For years, critics have joked that GM doesn't stand for General Motors anymore. It's Government Motors. The name kinda stuck after the 2009 bailout, and now under Trump's watch, it's getting a new twist. One of his first big moves this time around, putting Lee Zeldin in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency. And almost immediately, emission standards were rolled back. That means GM's full-speed sprint toward electrification, where they've already sunk billions, is no longer a regulatory must. They don't have to chase EV quotas or fuel economy targets like they used to. In short, Barra's gamble blew up in her face, and now there's political cover to hit the brakes. A breather, Government Motors. Sorry, General Motors desperately needed. But that's not all. Trump's back on the offensive with tariffs, especially targeting Chinese imports. It's putting pressure on every automaker relying on overseas supply chains, and GM's deep reliance on cheap Chinese parts puts them right in the crosshairs. But here's the twist: this might actually work in GM's favor. If tariffs force them to move production back to the US, that's a long-term win. It means tighter inspection, improved quality control, quicker supply chains, and a serious chance to rebuild trust in their vehicles. No more waiting 6 months for a faulty Chinese lifter or radiator. No more questionable third-party suppliers overseas. If GM plays it right, Trump's pressure could end up being a blessing in disguise. American-made parts, higher quality, and a shot at reviving the reputation they've lost under Barra's leadership. Fire Barra. People aren't just frustrated, they're fed up. Mary Barra's name is all over GM's decline, and for a growing number of fans, it's time for her to go. Sure, pointing fingers is easy when a company stumbles. But this isn't just a stumble, it's been a slow-motion crash, and she's been behind the wheel the whole time. Other automakers that are in a similar situation have already made moves. Stellantis showed Carlos Tavares the door, and Nissan brought in Ivan Espinosa as CEO to stop their own slide. That's how high stakes the game is right now. Leaders who don't deliver are getting sacked. And here's the real question: why not Barra? Under her watch, GM abandoned sedans, botched EV development, lost its grip on reliability, and allowed its iconic trucks to fall behind the pack. Fans have lost trust, and trust is everything in this business. You don't get to mess up the Silverado and expect loyal buyers to just shrug it off. There's a narrow window now. If Trump's new policies give GM room to regroup, and if the new wave of V8 engines actually delivers bulletproof reliability, then maybe, just maybe, the company can earn back some goodwill. But if none of that pans out, if the trucks keep falling apart, if sales keep sliding, if the damage keeps stacking, then even board of directors will figure out it's time to say goodbye to Mary Barra.